Hi, I'm Justin Bernier with Rip Curl Watches. I'm the Southern California watch sales rep, and today I'm going to tell you all about our latest and greatest Tide watch, the Trestles Pro World Time and Tide watch. There are four main buttons that control the functions and settings of the watch, starting with the lower left button called the search button. The top left button is the light button. The top right button is the start-stop button. And the bottom right button is the reset button. So here on the main screen of the watch, we have clearly displayed the time at the bottom of the screen. Above that, the day and the date. And the top right section of the screen is the current tide level and the direction the tide is going. Top left of the screen is the time of that next tide. And just below that, we have the exact height of that forthcoming tide. Moving from the main screen here, I'm going to use that lower left search button to take you through some of the other mode screens the watch features. First tap brings us into the digital compass mode. Compass loads up and it shows you cardinal directions with degree directions as well, with 1 degree resolution. Another mode is the future tide mode. Watch is currently set for Huntington Beach, and this screen allows you to scroll through future tide information for years in advance, right out to the year 2026. Next mode is the sunrise and sunset mode. In this instance, the sun is showing as rising at 5:49 a.m. and 8:04 p.m. and setting at 8:04 p.m. You can use the buttons on the right-hand side of the watch to scroll into future sunrise and sunset times. Next mode will be the chronograph, which is our stopwatch. Start-stop button at the top right will activate that. Press and hold the lower right button for 3 seconds and you'll reset that timer. The next mode is a countdown timer. The watch comes with the timer preset to 30 minutes to show you that it is in fact a countdown timer. Just to demonstrate that, we'll start it. That timer counts down to 0 and an alarm will sound. Press and hold the bottom right button to reset. Our next mode is the alarm. Pretty straightforward here. The watch features 2 alarms. And our next mode is back to the main screen where it reminds you where the watch is set to, Huntington Beach, California in this case. Another feature that we've built into this watch is what we call the best conditions feature. When on your main screen, simply press the top right button and it will give you the breakdown of the ideal tide, wind, and swell conditions for the locations around the world. Now I'd like to demonstrate how you actually set your Rip Curl Trestles Pro Tide watch. What you do is press and hold the lower left search button for 3 seconds until a location menu appears. Now I'm going to go ahead and toggle using the buttons on the right side of the watch. I'm going to toggle through the menu of locations. We've got positions all over the world. I'm going to go ahead and relocate myself to Virginia Beach, Virginia. So that's in North America. So I'm going to tap the search button to select North America, tap search to select USA. Now I've got the different regions of the USA. See, we're narrowing down our search. I'm going to use the buttons on the right to toggle down to East Coast, tap search to select East Coast. It starts me right at the top northeast corner of the eastern seaboard. So I'm going to use the buttons again on the right side of the watch to scroll down the coast until I see my city of Virginia Beach. There it is, Virginia Beach. Now I'm just going to press and hold the search button for 3 seconds and lock that in. It asks me to check for daylight savings time status. It is currently in Virginia Beach. They're in daylight savings time. We see DST showing at the bottom of the screen, so I don't need to activate or deactivate DST. Now, if we aren't in daylight savings time, to deactivate DST, it's a 1-button function where you press and hold the top right button for 5 full seconds, and it pulls the time back 1 hour to account for standard time when we're not in daylight savings time. Now, that was just for demonstration. I'm going to press and hold that top right button for 5 seconds once again and reactivate daylight savings time. So one great thing to note here is the fact that I've chosen my new tide location, Virginia Beach. The time is now set automatically as well. That's the very convenient world tide function that's incorporated into the watch. So now that I've established my location, we see that in Virginia Beach there's a dropping tide. It's approaching low. It's about halfway down. It's going to be low at 3:46 p.m. and it's a 0.39 foot low tide. All the other things that the watch has to offer have also been now set to Virginia Beach. I'll take you through the modes. There's our compass mode. Future tide information is of course relating to Virginia Beach, as it says on the screen. Tap that search button again. Sunrise and sunset information is now specific to Virginia Beach. Going to go back to the main screen and show you that the best conditions information is also now specific to Virginia Beach. Ideal tide is low, ideal wind direction southwest to west, ideal swell size is 3 to 6 foot. There's also a manual time and date setting process on the watch that I'd like to show you. This is the one where you go in and set some of your preferences for the watch when you've purchased your new watch. So to go into the manual time and date setting, you press and hold the top left button, which is the light button. You'll see the year begin to flash. Shows us that we're in 2013. Now you use the lower left search button to take you from field to field. The month is fine, the date is fine, hour will flash. This is when you can change these things. If you need to, speed the watch up or slow it down, you can make minor settings here. Continuing through, seconds will flash, you can change those. You can establish your date format. So if you're in perhaps Europe or Australia, you might want to change that to reverse that to day, day, month, month, where it's going to say that today would be the 10th of the 7th month instead of the 7th of the 10th month like we would read it in the US. So I'm going to leave that in month, month, day, day. The time format can be changed between 12-hour time and 24-hour time. I'm going to leave that in 12-hour time. The chime button, you can either activate or deactivate an hourly chime. That will chime exactly on the hour every hour. You can turn that on or off. I'm going to leave that off. You can have a key tone. If you want to silence the watch when you press the buttons, turn that key tone off and it will no longer make any sounds at all when you're pressing the buttons. I'm going to leave the key tone on. You can change the unit of measurement for your tide readings. In this case, you can go between feet and meters. I'm going to leave that in feet. And there's also an auto-off function in the watch. The auto-off can be an amazing power saver for the battery life of the watch. Now if you want to turn auto-off on, what happens here is the watch, after 1 minute of no activity, the screen will actually go to sleep. So if you don't wear your watch every day or you store it for months or weeks or days at a time, you may want to consider turning on the auto-off function so that the watch goes to sleep after 1 minute of inactivity. When you're using the watch in the auto-off mode, all you need to do is press any button and the screen will come back to life. But then again, it's going to turn off after 1 minute of inactivity. So I'm an everyday watch wearer. I'm going to leave the auto-off function off. And then we're back to the year flashing. So that's the manual setting screen where you can just make those changes as I've illustrated. Now that I'm done making my changes, I'm going to press and hold the search button and lock in whatever I've done, and there we are back to the main screen, Virginia Beach, Virginia. Okay, now that I've taken you through some of the most commonly used functions of the watch, I want to show you a few things that make this watch special and more versatile. It does take a little bit more of an advanced touch in adjusting the settings. First thing I'm going to show you is relates to the digital compass. We go into the digital compass mode. With digital compass, there is a deviation between magnetic north and true north, and digital compasses also require calibration from time to time. To calibrate the digital compass and to set an offset, to set a deviation between magnetic north and true north, you press and hold the search button for 3 seconds while in the compass mode. It asks for an offset. I'm going to set the offset for my location. Common offsets are listed in your instruction booklet and the others can be found online. but I'm going to set my Los Angeles offset for plus 13 degrees. If it were a minus offset, I'd use the lower right button to go minus, but this is a positive offset of 13 degrees. I'm going to tap the lower left now that I've entered that number, and it asks me to turn the watch clockwise. So you set the watch on a horizontal plane and rotate it clockwise. Usually takes about 1 minute. When finished, the word done appears on the center of the screen and the compass resumes activity. So that's how you would calibrate and or offset the digital compass. Another thing I'm going to show you is how to offset a pre-programmed tide time on the watch. If you happen to live at a beach that's not listed in the 500 beaches that we have pre-programmed tide information for, that doesn't mean that you can't use this watch. It just takes a little bit of customization. I'll show you how to do it now. First thing you're going to want to do is locate your local tide information. You live at the location that isn't in the watch's menu. You're going to locate your local tide information and establish the difference in tide time between your local tide chart and the closest one in the watch. So I'm going to just create an example here. I've gone ahead into my newspaper or gone online and found that my local tide times occur 30 minutes after the Huntington Beach tide times in the watch. So I'm in the future tide mode right now. I'm going to press and hold the lower right button for 3 seconds, and it asks me for an offset. Now these are minutes I'm going to enter. So like I said, I've determined that my local beach has tides that occur 30 minutes on average after the Huntington Beach tides do. So I'm going to go ahead and add 30 minutes to the Huntington Beach tides. I'm going to press and hold the button for faster scrolling. I've just added 30 minutes, offset Huntington Beach by plus 30 minutes. I'm going to tap the lower left button, and the word custom appears on the screen, and I can use the buttons on the right to actually name my new spot. Buttons on the right will allow you to scroll up and down through the alphabet and character list. Then you tap the button, lower left button, tap the lower left button to move on to the next letter, up or down, up or down. And you do this until your word is complete, and when you've renamed your beach, you just press and hold that lower left button to lock it in. Now I've established a custom tide location with a name that doesn't make sense, but for demonstration purposes, you see how that's done.